close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left.
Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Priscilla. In today's video, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, and I will be talking about failing flight attendant training. Yes, failing flight attendant training is a possibility. Just because you got your CJO at that event day and you got that conditional job offer does not mean that your position or your job as a flight attendant is guaranteed. It is not. Get closer. It's not, okay? Getting the CJO does not guarantee that you're going to become a flight attendant. It does not. Today, I will be talking about some of the things that can contribute to you failing flight attendant training. And unfortunately, these things are real and they do happen, and people tend to take them for granted, thinking that it would never happen to them until it actually does. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that ultimately, it might just not be your time, y'all. Like, I feel like everything happens for a reason, and there are moments in our life where certain things happen and they go in a certain direction that we might not want it to go. But as I've shared in my story in the past, is that I had, I believe, like an opportunity to become a flight attendant years before I actually became a flight attendant. And I feel like if I had attempted to go through the process then, I probably would not have still been a flight attendant by now. However, having done it now, I'm enjoying it. I feel like it's the perfect timing for me. So just because you fail flight attendant training, whether it's academically or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good enough or you're not a best fit for the position. It probably just means that it's just not your time, and the timing is just not in your favor at the moment. You have to trust and believe that as long as you feel you did whatever you could and you gave your all, that it was just not your time. Secondly, when it comes to failing flight attendant training, is that you have to self-reflect to see what could have possibly went wrong. Did you give your best? What was your best? Were you giving 100%? Were you giving 50%? What was your mental state in that moment while you were going through training? Because flight attendant training is honestly not easy, not necessarily because the content is difficult, but it's just that the whole condition that you're put under or you're set in is just exhausting and honestly tiring, okay? So the content itself is not difficult. It's just that everything is happening so fast, a lot is going on. So you might potentially think you're doing all you can, but it might just not be enough. So while you're going through training, or even before you go, or if you do end up going and you fail, just take a step back and self-reflect and analyze whatever instances or the situations that you were exposed to, and just figure out like what happened, what could have gone wrong. I will say, while you're doing this self-reflection though, avoid blaming yourself or playing the blame game. It wasn't me, it was this person. If this person didn't do this, then this wouldn't happen, because that just sets you in a negative mindset and you don't want to get stuck on that. Third thing that I do want to talk about is a learning strategy. Most of the time, people go for flight attendant training assuming that it's just a job or whatnot, but if you look at flight attendant training critically, it's like a learning experience. It's like you going to school and you being taught information. You have instructors and everything. So I think one of the reasons, or some of the things that can cause one to fail, is the fact that if you don't have a learning strategy, you have to know what your learning strategy or how you learn, whether it's more of practical or visual learning, or if it's more abstract. And you have to figure out what your style of learning is and figure out a strategy for yourself. In my case, I knew that me trying to memorize everything verbatim will be very difficult. So what I did, my strategy was that I made sure that whatever content that we were given, I reviewed it at least 3 times. So the first time is when I'm required to review it and submit that I reviewed the content. The second time is me coming back from class after the content has been taught and reviewing it on my own time. And then the third time is me reviewing it before any assessments related to the content. So that was my strategy. 3 times, reviewing the content 3 times. And that worked for me because I did not necessarily have to memorize everything or cramp my head with so much information. But the fact that I was reviewing it up to 3 times meant that subconsciously I was absorbing the content. And one way or the other, if a question or if I was assessed on it, I will be able to reproduce as well. So you do have to have a learning strategy, or man, you're gonna fail. Or even if you do make it, it would be tooth and nails at that point. Not being dramatic. All right, so the next point that I do want to talk about is I have my points here, so I am armed and ready with information, okay? I came prepared. People not following instructions. With the way this job is, once you become a flight attendant, there's little to no supervision, right? So while you're in training, you're literally being trained to follow instructions and to listen to feedback and to follow rules and regulations, okay? Because a lot of what we do is regulated, okay? You have to get certified before you can work on any aircraft. It's not just a regular e-learning somewhere or some over-the-counter training. No, we have to get certification from the FAA. But the whole point is that if while in training, you cannot prove to your instructors or even to yourself that you can follow instructions, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag. You have to be able to follow instructions. It's not a matter of I can do whatever I want. I'm an adult. I don't have to be babied in any way. But that's not the point. You are on a mission. The mission is to get your CJO, go for training, and become a flight attendant so you can start flying and enjoying your best life. However, there are certain things that's gonna happen before you get to the point where you're able to fly and become an official flight attendant. And one of those things is being able to follow instructions, listening to policies, listening to the rules, and doing what you're expected to do. The whole reason why the whole training process has to be structured is because there's so many people attending this training and they need the structure in order to facilitate the process. And also, whatever happens in flight attendant training, in my opinion, is honestly conditioning you and setting you up for the actual job. So the whole process is a conditioning process, and you have to allow yourself, you have to avail yourself to be able to take it all in. That is not the time to say I'm the boss of me and I can do whatever I want and nobody can tell me what to do. No, if you're planning on working for an organization, you have to be ready to follow rules and regulations and follow the policies. And one of those things, or one of the ways that I think people end up failing flight attendant training, is they just don't follow instructions. They just don't follow instructions. Your e-learning is due today. Why is it not done? This assessment is due today. What? They just don't follow instructions. It's one of the major reasons why people end up failing. So if you're trying to be successful, follow instructions. Taking things for granted. I feel like when people go for flight attendant training, they take the moment for granted. They forget all the stress, the hustle, the praying, all the work that they put into getting that CJO. They miss the mark. And once they get to training, it's like everything, they feel like they've already made it. They're there because they've been accepted and they're in training now, then it's official. But like I said in the beginning of this video, you getting your CJO is not does not guarantee that you're going to become a flight attendant at the end of the day, or you're actually going to be given the job. Only training does that. Training is the only part of this whole hiring process. You successfully graduating from flight attendant training is the only part of the process that to a large extent guarantees that you are a flight attendant and you will be on the line. Anything else before that does not matter. It's just to get you to the next level. So what I think happens is that people end up taking this part of the process for granted, thinking that because they're already here, then it's official, it's done. They don't have to put in any effort to show up and do what they're supposed to do. So they take the moment for granted. And for me, it was quite disappointing to see that, because at the end of the day, I think of all the people that were at my event day and the fact that there were so many of us and only a few, like a handful of us got our CJO. And for the handful of us to end up getting to training and doing what? Taking it for granted, not taking it seriously, and just doing whatever it is that we want to do. It's so disappointing to go through all that process only to drop the ball when it matters the most. So please keep that in mind. That can potentially lead to you failing training because you're taking things for granted, you're not taking things seriously. Last but not the least, which I feel is quite interesting because a lot of us going through flight attendant training, we're grown adults. This is not high school. This is not junior high school. This is not even college per se. But I feel like there's a lot of peer influence. There's a lot of peer influence, people trying to do what others are doing just because. I feel like when you go to flight attendant training, if you're trying to pass and not fail, you have to own your own. You have to take responsibility for your actions and make sure whatever you do or do not do is in your best interest and not because somebody else is doing it. Don't follow the crowd. In as much as you have to show that you have interpersonal skills and you can relate or interact with other people, at the end of the day, you also have to know that you have a duty, you have a responsibility, you have a goal for being there. And anything that's gonna derail you or get you off track must be avoided. You have to focus on the goal. Keep your eye on the prize. And the prize is getting through graduation and getting those wings. Do not be peer influenced. Even during my training, I feel like a lot of people got in trouble or essentially got kicked out or failed because of peer influence. Okay, instead of spending time doing things that would make them successful, they were focused on doing other things that other people were doing. I'm not saying don't make friends or don't bond or don't interact or don't have fun with people, but all I'm saying is that you have to be extremely careful and know that no matter what the outcome is, you are the one that's going to deal with the consequences, not the other people. These are a few thoughts that I really wanted to share with you all because I feel like failing flight attendant training is a thing. And as much as a lot of us do graduate and we do get those wings and we're super excited and we're all sharing the joy and excitement about it, failing it is definitely a high possibility. People do fail. So, and it can be for any reason at all. So don't think that because you're in training, you become a flight attendant is guaranteed. So keep that in mind. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button real quickly. Share your thoughts in the comment section. What are some of the reasons why you think people fail flight attendant training? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, check out this video right here where I do talk about, it's a full playlist where I share my experience while I was going through flight attendant training. So if you want all the deets, check out this video right here. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.